Hello, everybody, and good morning if you're watching live. I'm Zoe Bywater, and this is Jen Ryle, and she's my Senior Portfolio Manager. And today, whilst I'm having my coffee, I know you've not seen me for some time. We thought we'd have a little chat about a few things that we do for you tenants out there. And one of the things that we've got coming up in the next few weeks is our tenant advice surgery. So, Jen, would you like to just tell us a little bit about that?
So our next tenant advice surgery, you may have seen, we did one the end of last month. We just did a quick Q&A on a few topics that tenants asked about. Our next one will be on the 27th of May, so that's the last Thursday of the month, and it's going to be at 12:30. So perfect lunchtime viewing for you. We're going to be speaking to an expert on a topic which we will be announcing in the next week or so.
So what sort of things do people look forward to seeing on these tenant surgeries? If we're going to have them every last Thursday of the month and people want to tune in on a regular basis, as you would do with a podcast, what sort of types of things would we be looking at talking about?
So the next few ones that we're looking to do, we're going to be looking to speak to some professionals or experts. So we've got some gas engineers, some electricians, looking to maybe try and get someone from the deposit protection on, just to give tenants a bit of an insight into things that might affect them. So obviously deposits, that's something that a lot of people, pay when they move into a property before they move in. So just speaking to them about the process, what's involved. We can also speak to gas engineers. A lot of people don't actually know what's involved in a gas safety or a boiler service. They just let the gas engineer come round, every year and do it. But not a lot of people know what's involved.
Yeah.
So that'd be good just to get a bit of an insight, so you actually know kind of what's being done at your property. And also obviously electricians. We've got the electrical safety testing legislation as well. So
if we go back to the gas certificate
yes.
thing, obviously if I was a punter and a tenant and I heard you say you're going to talk about how a gas cert's done, I might think, I'll just go to sleep now.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that might be useful for anybody that is watching who is a tenant and has any questions about safety and gas safety is that they might want to fire some questions over to us in the comments.
Exactly.
So, because obviously this is for you tenants, it's not for us, and we want to help you as much as we can.
Exactly.
And the same goes for deposits. One of the things that I've learned is that cleaning is one of the most contentious issues that we come across when moving a tenant out of the property. So it might be useful if anybody has any specific queries about an end of tenancy clean or moving out of their property, that they get in touch. You say experts. Is there anybody else that you've got on the list that you're going to speak to?
At the moment, we're just compiling a list. But like you said, I think it's important to get the tenants on board and get the questions in, because at the end of the day, it is for them, and it's the information that we're wanting to give to them that's actually going to be of use. So we don't want to, like you said, be putting anybody to sleep. So if you do have any questions or any topics that you would like covered, do of course get in touch, and then we can have a look at who we can get on and what we can chat about. That'll be helpful to you guys.
One of the things that I would say as well is that if you're a landlord and you're watching, don't think we're sort of cutting you out of the equation here. We know that tenants, do need information, and so do you as landlords. So again, if you have any questions, landlords out there, that you want answering, as you know, there's so much going on, and obviously we could talk about things now, but the Queen's speech is about to kick off in about 10 minutes, and that might all change again. I remember last time I did this, I said something about lockdown, and then the next day they eased it. Or, the day before they went into lockdown, we were chatting about something. So, you just never know. And that's the thing, I think, with everything to do with renting, from the point of view of a tenant and a landlord, is that you need to be aware it changes very, very quickly. Now, one of the things that we do on a regular basis, and if you do want to see any of the historical stuff that we have done, we do have a YouTube channel, and I will pop this in the comments, but we do have what we call a regular Tenant Tuesday tip. So, Jen, in light of that, and while we're here today, have you got a tip lined up for us?
So actually today I was going to speak about different types of tenancy term. So just a quick kind of lowdown. Obviously, a lot of people when they sign up for a tenancy, generally what you'll be offered at the moment is probably a 6 or a 12-month fixed term. So what that means is you're signed up for a fixed term period. It will mean that if you wanted to leave at the end of that term, you would have to wait right until the end. So you'd more than likely, depending on your tenancy agreement, have to give a month's notice. But you wouldn't, for example, be able to, if you were living there for 3 months, be able to give a month's notice and go if you were in a fixed term agreement.
So me being the devil that I am, I'm going to ask a question about 6
Uh-oh.
month tenancies now. Now, under the
dear.
The Coronavirus Act that came in March last year, there's been several changes to notice periods. And what currently now is the notice period for, the standard Section 21, which, watch out, guys, it might get banished and banned in an hour's time. But while it's still there, the Section 21, how long is the notice period at the moment, Jen?
It's 6 months.
So if you've signed a 6-month tenancy agreement and you've got a 6-month notice period, how long potentially, this is good for the landlords listening, could a tenant remain in a property?
12 months? Am I being bad at maths there? A long time.
Yeah, I think the absolute minimum is obviously you've got to live in a property for 4 clear months
before you can give the notice. Yeah.
So on average, tenants out there, if you do go for a 6-month agreement, currently until the end of May, you're looking at 10 months. So bear that in mind when you're signing up for new properties.
Yeah.
What else have you got to say about tenancy agreements?
So that would be if you're in a fixed term, and obviously, like Zoe said, at the moment things are a little bit up in the air as to what's going to happen. But you'd be looking at a minimum of 10 months if you're in a 6-month agreement as such, and you got your notice 4 months in. So the other type is a periodic tenancy or a periodic agreement. Essentially, what this is when your tenancy kind of rolls on. So sometimes how I describe it to tenants is it's a little bit like a mobile phone contract. Sometimes that's the best way for them to wrap their heads around it. So it's when you come to the end of your fixed term, you don't want to sign up for another fixed term. You might be looking to change a job. You might, have kind of flexibility in your plans. You're not really sure what's going to be going on. You might just, not be sure if you want to rent. You might want to buy a property. If we can offer, we do have, if you are looking to buy, we have a mortgage advisor on our books that we can put you in touch with. So essentially that gives a bit more flexibility so that your tenancy just rolls on a monthly basis. And when you want to vacate, you would need to give the month's notice. Of course, at the moment, landlord will still need to give 6.
So on that, who, in your opinion, does a periodic tenancy benefit, or what are the benefits to it?
Like I said, it offers a flexibility. So if you're not sure what your long-term plans are, a lot of people, obviously, they like being tied in because they have that security of the property. Especially, like I said, obviously, we don't know if it's going to change. But at the moment, even if you were given notice, you're looking at quite a long time period where you're kind of secure in that property. But some people, obviously, if you've got a job that requires you to move around a lot, you may be, expecting a baby, or, you're just really not sure of your plans. Or like I said, you do want to buy a property, then it's a good option for you because it gives you the flexibility where you can just say, right, I'm going in a month's time, and you're not having to think, oh, I'm tied in for another 6 months, I can't do anything in that time period.
And obviously when you say it's a month's notice, does that have to fall on the rent due date?
I think as far as I'm aware, it depends on what your tenancy agreement states.
Yeah, okay. I think general rule of thumb is it used to.
Yeah,
and that it changed.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's easier if you do give it on the date because then it's easier to work things out. But it doesn't.
Yeah, and one of the things I'd obviously want to put out there for tenants is that there are no hard and fast rules here with what type of agreement that you sign up to after you've ended the first one. Some agencies and some landlords may insist that you sign for another fixed term, and some may insist you go onto a rolling contract.
Yeah.
And neither of those are correct. I think what you've got to understand as a tenant is that it's a mutual thing that you agree with your landlord, and it is with your landlord. There might be an agent acting on behalf of your landlord, but it's ultimately your landlord's decision as to whether or not you can come to some agreement in terms of renewing.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to say about tenancy agreements, Jen?
No, I think that was it. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of an insight into what terms there are, because again, sometimes tenants don't really understand, especially because obviously, sometimes I've had it where they sign in a fixed term and then it's kind of explained to them, oh, you have to go onto a periodic after this time period, and they don't really understand what that entails. And also the same with fixed term. Some people just don't understand, what their obligations are, what that means in terms of giving notice, being able to leave, that kind of thing. So
I think for me, one of the benefits of having knowledge is that a tenant should, under the Property Ombudsman's Code of Practice, and obviously I think ALA as well, which is the professional body for estate agents and letting agents, should I say, will suggest that you should see a draft copy of your tenancy agreement in advance of you signing up to it. So all you tenants out there that are potentially looking to move into property, realistically, as early as possible, you should be seeing a draft version of that. And I would say give it a good look over just to make sure you're happy with all the clauses. Now, there might be things in there that you cannot change, but you just need to be clear on the rules and regulations, because there may be within that agreement some unfair terms that the landlord or the agent shouldn't be adding. So you just need to be aware of that as a tenant, and make sure that if you're not sure, give us a shout. We'll have a look at it for you.
I was just going to say that. If you're not sure, ask. Because that, sometimes a tenancy agreement can be a bit daunting if you don't understand all the, because there can be a bit of jargon in there that you might not be able to understand. And there's a lot of, do's and don'ts. So if you aren't sure, do ask. You can either give us a ring, pop us an email, or obviously, ask your landlord or letting agent. But it is important to know what you're signing, and because ultimately, at the end of the tenancy, or if something, hopefully not, but if it goes wrong or if something happens during the tenancy, that's what will be referred to. So you need to know kind of what you're agreeing to before you sign on the dotted line as such.
Fabulous. So just one last thing before we disappear off, because I'm sure you've seen enough of us today, is if there is anything on your mind, be you a landlord, a tenant, a contractor, anybody that's got a question about anything property related, pop it in the comments if you can, or drop us a direct message on the Belvoir Bedford Facebook group, or check us out on the Facebook group, because there's a lot of information there that will help you. And Jen, can you just tell us again when the next tenant advice surgery is, which is?
It's on the 27th of May at 12:30.